Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're doing the HootSuite Supercharge your website with social traffic. We got a couple of great people on the air with us today, and I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. So let's go ahead and take it away with Mr. Sean Funder first.
Oh, right on, man. Colby, thanks so much for putting this together. We're excited to be with Hootsuite today, particularly with Don. My name is Sean Funder. I've been at GoDaddy for 10 years. And the reason I've been at GoDaddy that long is because we get to help small businesses and entrepreneurs and startups be successful. And that includes social media presence and SEO and content and websites. And so that's what we're going to be talking. That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Cool. And then we have from HootSuite, we have Don.
Hi everyone, my name is Don Barron. I work at HootSuite. I've only been at HootSuite for a year, which actually at HootSuite is a long time and makes me a veteran. But I work at HootSuite and I run business development at HootSuite, particularly focused on small businesses. And I'm really excited about bringing social media and the value of social media to small businesses through partnerships like GoDaddy. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about how we can use social media to drive website traffic. It's a really important topic.
Awesome. And you can see everybody, we got some social media backgrounds going here on our slide deck.
Yeah, I think that's just to make everybody nervous.
We'll be talking about each of those in depth.
Each one.
So it looks like our first slide's do it yourself. So
yeah, I think I included this when taking a look at what we're talking about today because a lot of the stuff that we're going over, it could be great material and great fodder for you if you work with, say, a social media person, a consultant, or something else. But most of the stuff we're going over today should be stuff that you can do yourself, and that's kind of the context of how Don and I will be answering questions and going over these things. And so just that reminder. But it could help out. There was a guy I met in New York. He was on he'd go on Letterman regularly, and he was like an accountant that would go on there, and I met with him, and he said, I just want you to explain everything about websites and social media to me, not because I want to do it, but because I'm afraid that the people I've hired are no good at it. So in that context, this could be totally helpful, but most of it's going to be just DIY.
awesome. Well, let's see what we got going on here next. So social media, what are some common questions? I want everybody to know, feel free to ask your own still, even though we have some questions that we're going to go through. I'll be monitoring the event page as well as the YouTube page, so feel free to post away and we'll try and get to as many as we can. So social media, what's the point, guys?
I'm deferring.
Oh, you're going to ask the social media guy what the point is? Yeah, well, social media is a medium in which everyone is participating. So if you ask me what the point is from a business perspective, I would say that small businesses have a real opportunity to engage with their customers, their prospects on this huge medium where they haven't necessarily worked before, where they haven't necessarily thrived before. So one of the things I'd like to challenge with people listening and watching today as we go through this Hangout is try to separate yourself as a social media consumer from a social media business user. So the social media business user really has a different set of eyes that they put on this problem, and that set of eyes is, how do I reach the right audience at the right time with the right message? And that's really sort of the point of social media, is engaging this huge audience and understanding who is out there and who is interested in what you have to say, and ultimately using that as another marketing channel. So I think what people don't understand, because they're used to using social media as consumers, is that just like AdWords or SEO or any other digital advertising, social media should be used as a way to drive traffic to your website eventually, because it's your website where you really do all of your effort, where you can really share your voice, where you have complete freedom, where you can transact. So that's the point to me, is treating social media as a business opportunity where you have millions, billions of users, potential customers, and funneling those people over into your website where you can actually transact and do real business with them.
Yeah, I completely agree. a couple of the points that you bring up that I really like is that you are kind of differentiating between as a consumer and then as a business. 'Cause I think some people see social media and they think instantly that cliche, like, why does anybody care what I eat for breakfast?
Right.
Kind of thing with social media, but it becomes really, really powerful when you view it as kind of this holistic approach. So I have a great friend that he's stupid good at social media engagement for himself, just personal brand. And everybody has that friend that, like, when they post something on Instagram or they put something on Facebook, they end up with 200 people liking it in like a quarter of an hour. This guy just announced that he was joining a volunteer firefighting team, and he has more likes on his announcement that he's joining the volunteer firefighter team than the department does on their Facebook page. And talking to him about running then a small business or starting a small business and how does he convert that over or that type of stuff, and how would he measure, because it doesn't necessarily mean that he's making a bunch of money because he gets a bunch of likes. He came to the same conclusion. He said, well, I've got to somehow get them over to my website, my digital place of business, so I can measure whether or not this is going to be successful in the first place.
Mm.
Yeah. What do you think, like, when it comes to social media? And Colby, I think this is the next slide, but I'm curious. So many people are so freaked out by all of the different platforms that are out there. Like, when we say social media, it's like we want to do like a Raymond Carver story, like what we talk about when we talk about social media. Um,
Mhm.
like, they just think like, well, what should I be doing? Is it Vine? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube? Is it, like all these new ones that just seem to be coming up? Like, what do you usually recommend for people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like really, it can be really intimidating because, and in the news, you hear about new networks all the time that, could be noise or are not noise, you don't know. And
Yeah.
as a small business owner, it can be hard to tell. I would say that, what you really need to do, and we have some good, we have an ebook that we'll share with everybody afterwards about this, but basically, you want to understand where your customers and prospects are. As a small business owner, like, forget about like all the noise and all the different networks. Think about your customers and who they are, and then think about where do the people that are your customers live in social media. So, figure out where, like, there's a million other people like your customers and they're living in social media, but they're probably working on different channels or living in different channels. So, Facebook is always a good place to start. Facebook is a good place to start because everyone is in Facebook. So if my advice usually is, if you're going to start with one channel, I don't know if Hootsuite this is a Hootsuite approved message. So this is a Don Barron approved message. If you're going to start in social media as a small business, I would say start with Facebook. It's the cleanest opportunity in terms of the audience size, and there's a lot of really good targeting you can do, and there's a lot of really good messaging you can do, and that's always a good place to start. But if you're a retail brand, and if you have like a beautiful visual campaign that you want to do, that you're very, you might want to use Instagram, and especially if you have a younger audience, you might want to use Instagram to get those customers. And by the way, I think Instagram is like 3 months away from passing like the "Does your mom use it?" test, which is the test where I test for like. I think my mom is going to friend me on Instagram within the next 3 to 6 months. And I think at that point, it's not going to be just young people. I can calmly say everybody's on Instagram.
Yeah.
But if you have like a very visual brand, that's a great place to go for, doing campaigns and having your customers work with your brand and showing off your brand and really developing your brand that way. And and Twitter is great for people who are consultants and people who are in media, celebrities, obviously, for the celebrities out there in the audience. It's a great place for people who are building their personal brand, as well as small companies who can really localize their message and drive. Again, all of this is meant to drive people to the website eventually because you're trying to drive traffic. But that's the real answer. Is like there's no easy answer for everybody. The answer is figure out the customers you have, the prospects you want, and then try to match that to buying behavior and customers to the right network. That'd be my long answer to that question.
Colby, I'm curious. I'm actually curious what you think about it. You've been working social media for a long time. Like, what are your thoughts? Are you still there, Colby? Did we lose you?
Nope, sorry, I was
Oh,
on mute.
no.
I agree a lot with what Don said, choosing a platform and starting with that and going. I like Facebook as a good start. I think it gives it. A lot of people even use Facebook as an acting website until they do get an actual website up and running or they have their domain forward to there. I'd like to get your input. Actually, there's a couple of people that posted questions like, are there actual value in Facebook likes? And I just want to see what you guys think on that.
So I have a mixed response. I agree with Don. It's the sort of the path of least resistance, especially in honing your chops or like understanding how social media works. Facebook likes and Facebook in general has gotten a little bit more complicated for business pages because you could have a ton of people like your business. And Don, you might have more insight into this, but I know recently you could have just tons and tons of likes. You reach 1,000 likes. And it used to be that the more likes you got and the more that you kind of built that up, the more people would see you in their feed as you came through and be reminded of your business and be reminded of what you're doing. But I think that's a little bit less these days. And now it's a pay-to-play model a little bit more with Facebook. And so usually the advice I give to a lot of small business owners when it comes to like getting likes and getting the word out is you have other people talking about your business. That's the pure social side. It's not the broadcast your business on Facebook side, but the conversation around your business. And that's what shows up in other people's feeds so that they can then see and understand what it is that you do. And they see that, like for me, like if we're both on there and Don he likes the new Hemmingwrite. It's this really cool typewriter thing, right? That you can use as an e-ink display. It's just the coolest thing ever. And Don posts something about the Hemmingwrite, and he links to it, and he tells everybody that this is something that he totally doesn't want. I mean, doesn't need, but he totally wants. And I see that because I trust Don and because like I trust his opinions. I would then go check out the Hemmingwrite. So it's a way to work, but the page itself is a little bit removed from what it used to be because of this pay-to-play model. I don't know, Don, do you have more insight into that? I know that the percent of time you show up is a little bit less than it used to be.
Yeah, I think that's correct. So I think sort of the value of likes has gone down over time. So I think that's true in terms of having more people like you, sort of bringing bringing that content to them in the stream. But yes, Sean's right. Like there's the affinity for brands of people that I like, my friends liking brands and me saying, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know they liked that. That's great. And there's also just the idea of like rather than just using plain likes, like drawing people to that page and maybe like collecting their email address. So the answer is this is a little bit off topic for the question, but I feel like there's maybe more valuable ways to sort of get that sort of opt-in. The like is essentially an opt-in, but there's more interesting ways to doing that on the web page, like on your Facebook business page, for example, like collecting email addresses and tying that into your email marketing campaign or something along those lines. I think that might be a more valuable approach. Like us on Facebook, I don't think that's as popular or as powerful as it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, another Facebook just kind of question that came in. This one's probably more for you, Don. Fred would just like to know, does HootSuite or can HootSuite integrate with Facebook groups at this time?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. I do believe so. I have to look up the details on that. And Matt Wong is on the line as well. He is an expert. But let me get the exact answer to that question, and I can check back in a few minutes here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Any other questions that came in so far, Colby?
Actually, one more on integration with HootSuite.
Yeah.
Any plans to integrate Instagram into HootSuite as well? I have a couple people saying that their clients are really interested in that.
Yeah, so we do have plans to integrate Instagram. We have some Instagram analytics apps that are currently in our app directory. So the HootSuite app directory is the extensible model. So natively we will support Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and a couple other networks. And then we're bringing in Instagram. Eventually we're going to bring it in natively, but for now there's some apps that you can use to do some analytics. Unfortunately, Instagram doesn't allow posting from anything except the phone. And there's no there's no plans, or that's not on the roadmap to change that. So until folks at Facebook and Instagram decide to open up that API, then we won't be able to post images from there. But we will hope to down the road be able to read and see images, Instagram images in your feed.
Awesome.
And we have some analytics tools today already that allow you to do that in our app directory.
That's very, very cool. I know with Instagram, it's been interesting to see it evolve, of course, and I've got kids that I think they all now have Instagram accounts. My poor son, even I bought him the wrong iPod Touch, the one that it has the camera only on the like the FaceTime one, like facing him instead of facing out. So he'll see something cool and be out on the road, and he just has this awkward pose, turning his camera around to try to see what pictures he's taking. But I'm curious. Instagram is great for sort of branding, for like, okay, this is who I am, this is my brand because of these are the types of pictures we take, or you mentioned like being a designer. But for the linking back, for like
Right.
getting people over to your website, like what have you guys seen that kind of works for people that still put some type of a link back or a recommendation or something like that, because you can't put hypertext in the comments, right?
Yeah, are you asking how that works in Instagram
Yeah,
or?
like what have you guys seen, I guess, as far as people pulling that off?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can still add a URL to your profile page in Instagram. So that's really the only place you can really drive. You can really take people from the Instagram experience over
Yeah.
to that. But you can also, so that's one way to do it. And then, other things is to run contests through Instagram through hashtagging. And hopefully that'll bring people, and then you let people know where to go basically on the website in order to, redeem that or how to contact you, etc. So contests are kind of a big deal,
Yeah.
but fulfilling them has to be done on the website somehow. So that has to be done essentially through plain text. But that Instagram doesn't make it easy to link back, and that's part of the simplicity and the beauty of it. But it's also a bit of a challenge when it comes to the topic of this hangout, which is driving traffic to your website.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think I've seen now that you mention it, I've seen the same thing where they even change the link. It could change daily that they put up in the description for the Instagram account. So if it's like we got a special deal on shirts,
Oh
here's
yeah,
the
that's a good
shirt, right?
idea.
They change it every day as it goes
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
What a cool example of Instagram that I remember seeing is I believe it was IKEA. They built an entire microsite using multiple Instagram accounts, basically.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that before, but they basically linked to all their different Instagram profiles and made an entire micro website in Instagram for all their specific products.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty cool experience to see. Kind of speaking on Instagram and like showing off your brand, Tom had a good question on that. He says he's kind of confused by his creative expression taking over, his brand. He wants to say so much, but feels limited on what he can say because he has to fit into this niche. That the simpler company message and more customers will respond to. Can you guys address like, basically getting too creative, or how do you not shout everything from the rooftops at once, kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Well, I mean, the recommendation I would make, this has been common, I think, with the advent of Twitter. Like I'm a creative writing major and love to write and express myself and do all those types of things. And so the circles that I would run in, like for Twitter, they're like, I can't believe it. Like this is so constraining. I really want to express myself more, express myself in a different way. And I think, I honestly think that it's kind of a blessing in disguise when it comes to putting restrictions on your creativity. I actually have I've got a great quote here. Here, let me share my screen really quick. I'll show you this quote that's related to this. It's let's see, entire screen share. So this is a quote that we've used before. That basically is this is from David Stewart. It says every pop song, symphony, jingle, ditty, and aria in the Western world starts with just 12 notes in the chromatic scale. Everything on the planet, including each of us, is made up of just 118 known chemical elements. Constraints, absolutely, but they're a starting point for seemingly endless creativity and possibility. And what I've noticed especially with Instagram, and even what you mentioned with IKEA, is that when we put these constraints on how we're trying to express ourselves, the majority of the time our creativity and our focus go up with it. And it's been one of the really great things I've seen with social media. And so as you kind of paint that up, like I've met a few people where they just say, okay, I'm going to use Instagram. There's some people that will only use the same filter every single time, and it's determined the types of pictures that they take because they know what's going to look good and what isn't going to look good, or they're only going to do black and white. Or in the case with Twitter, a lot of us, because we like the engagement and the retweets and everything else, like we've got that limit that's over 100 characters on Twitter, but most of us have even self-imposed limits of under 100 characters just to see if we can't get something a little bit tighter and a little bit more smooth. And so I can understand the frustration, especially for really creative people. But I think it's only going to help you to have those types of constraints. Don, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think that like, yeah, there are constraints, but comparing it to sort of like traditional marketing, where you have so many rules, that can sort of dictate what you can or can't say. I mean, imagine what you can say in a tweet versus what you can say in a billboard or what you could say in print. I actually think that this medium is perfect for sharing your voice, albeit within a constrained space, but perfect for sharing your voice, and you can see what works for you too. That's the beauty of it. We'll talk a little bit about analytics down the road, but you can really see like what works, what doesn't work, and you don't have to guess even to tell like which approach makes sense. So I agree. I think that there's a lot of room for creativity. If you want to shout from the rooftops, if that's what you want to do, I'd say do it. If that's who you are, go for it. And if you find that doesn't work, I mean, obviously there are certain decorum and there are certain rules to follow, and but other than that, I mean, I would say go for it and do whatever feels right for you and create your own personal voice and your own personal brand.
Yeah, we've even seen people take advantage of the constraint, but still build something out really, really large. People have written interactive short stories using Twitter, or novels using Twitter, which is totally fascinating. It's kind of like the modern version of Charles Dickens used to publish his stories a piece at a time as serials in the newspaper. Kind of the modern version of that, which is pretty amazing. Like even with that setup, they ran with it. And I'm glad you bring that up, and I'm glad we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. Is the greatest thing about this, the most amazing thing about it, is that you can test it and find out what works or what doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Kobe, where are we at? What do we got next?
With all this social media talk, do I still need a website?
Yeah. I think Don answered that really well right at the top. Yeah, 100% yes, like 100 times yes. I know there's some people that have done it, and you mentioned kind of that ease of entry into using Facebook for a website. Man, you guys, I hope I didn't sound really disgusted when I said that. Like, use Facebook for a website.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, good. No, I mean, because it is easy, right? It's easy to get it up and running. But your website really is where that not only the branding comes in, but now that opportunity to measure whether or not what you're doing actually works. And that's when we start talking about conversion. We start talking about, listen, if you're a mechanic and you're in small town Idaho and you build your website, probably chances are the only thing you're looking to do is just get people to show up and get their cars fixed. And so when you jump into social media, you're pushing people for that same type of thing. Like you want to create, I think, trust. You want to make sure that people are comfortable working with you, but you also need to make sure they know you exist. You're going to keep pointing them to your website so that they have your contact information, so that they can schedule an appointment, so that they get to see what your story is. They get to see other testimonials and things like that. It's still this really, really critical component, kind of the that gravity point for all of your marketing outside of that, especially with social media.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right on, and like, the website is the one place where you can just do whatever you want. And that's why you don't see big companies build their entire websites on social media platforms, because they want that control. Like for them, it's obviously a bigger decision, but for small businesses, like I don't think you want to be, in addition to sort of the marketing pull, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but I don't think you want to be like in a position where you've built all this stuff out and you have all this built, and then Facebook changes something, which they will, and now you've lost that control. So I think a lot of it comes down to control. Being able to very specifically and being able to craft the right message, the right experience for your customers and prospects, is not something you can do easily on the platform. So you absolutely need a website just for describing who you are. But yeah, more importantly, like I view AdWords, I view SEO and search, I view social media as just another way to drive traffic, to announce to people that you have something to show them, and you show that, and where you show them is on your website. You might tease them a little bit in the social media platforms, but in my mind, you're driving them to the website where you can either transact with them or you can collect their email address, whatever your calls to action are. The website is your home, and this is like the telephone, right? So I think that that's like a really important part of the puzzle. It's hard to do business without a website.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Cole, we got any questions on that?
No, not currently. Tom said, thanks for the quote. That really helps. As a reference, Dave Chappelle only works on one song around midnight. He doesn't work on anything else musically. So he said, thanks for the quote.
Oh, nice. That's really cool, actually. That's really, really cool. No, I think to reiterate or push on the website piece, I think there's a lot of people that don't do a website or they don't start in with a website, and they start off maybe just with social media because the idea of building a website completely freaks them out. It just seems really overwhelming. There's going to be a lot of ones and zeros involved, and code and markup, and as soon as you start talking to a developer or designer and they mention CSS or HTML or Node.js or something, like he's kind of glaze over. I mean, the good news is it's not just GoDaddy, so this isn't just stumping for GoDaddy, although I think we've got amazing tools for building a website, but there are other alternatives out there, and it really has gotten to the point that if you're a small business owner and you just need to get that one page live so you can get a call to action on there, a contact me, here's my phone number, email me, fill out this form, something simple. It's just become really, really easy. There's lots of really great tools out there now just to get that one piece live.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess the recommendation is just it's not as difficult as you think when thinking through it.
Yeah, and the upside is just off the charts. I mean, another point that I didn't bring up is SEO, right? Like SEO doesn't index a lot of the pages, Facebook pages or Twitter tweets at this point. There might be some changes down the road, but right now, like that's, that is a main channel that people learn about your business and technology, or your whatever it is that you do. They'll learn from it from search, and search is a huge component of how people drive business, and that is primarily around your website.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
So I guess the segue into this is we're talking about social media and using it to drive traffic. How do we even know it's working? Like, how does someone measure that?
Don, you want to take it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways. There's tons of products out there that let you understand how well your social media is working, and they're basically like listeners. Like, they will go out and listen to different brands and see how many retweets or tweets they've had. They're like deep listening tools like that. And then they have, you can use link shorteners as well. And I'll show you an example. But if you use a link shortener, so HootSuite has something called Owly. It's like Bitly.
Yep.
And if you post in HootSuite with a shortened link, and that goes out to Twitter, and someone clicks on it, HootSuite's able to count the fact that somebody clicked on it and engaged with that content, right? So they're able to see that content was interacted with, and they're able to take that and measure that. So actually, I can show my screen here and show you an example of some of these reports and just kind of like the depth of them. Let me do that. Share my screen. I'll just share the whole screen. I'll just roll the dice and share the whole screen. Let's see what happens. This might be my last day at HootSuite. Okay, so this is for an example. This is a report. I apologize for the French. I had localized this for a different partner, but I should probably change that because that's a little bit distracting. But what you can see is that this is a HootSuite employee, and you can see how many followers and how many people she's following. But this is an example of an analytics report, and you can see how well her tweets have done in the past. But what's more interesting is this is some sentiment analysis. But what's interesting is when you get down to individual tweets, you can see like individual LinkedIn updates that she provided. And by the way, I didn't mention anything about LinkedIn, but if you're in B2B, if you sell to other businesses, LinkedIn is the perfect place for you to network and engage other businesses. And so that is a consideration when you're considering a network.
Yeah.
So you can see, different links and tweets that she posted, and this is for LinkedIn. But down here, there's some Owly summary, and these are all the different posts that she put up, and you can see how many clicks each one got. So she doesn't have a whole lot of engagement, but using Owly, you can actually see which content you posted has actually been engaged with the most. And the point of that is like you can say, I'm going to schedule, because Hootsuite has a scheduler. I'm going to schedule 5 posts or 10 posts. 5 of them are going to look like A, 5 of them are going to look like B, and I'm going to see which ones do better, A or B. And then when I realize that it's A that does much better than B, I can go out and essentially just push really hard on that type of messaging to drive the traffic back into the website. So like that is the type of analysis that's not hard to do. It's not expensive to do. And you're essentially measuring how engaging is your content and learning about what's most engaging and then pushing harder on the most engaging stuff. There's also more interesting and more involved analytics down the road where you can link this up with Google Analytics and actually have traffic sources that are social. So if you're a Google Analytics user, on GA you can set up different traffic sources that include social, and in GA is very complex, or very sophisticated I should say, and complex. But you can tie the campaign traffic down into the actual conversions. So in that case, you can measure real like monetary value to individual tweets and individual Facebook posts. So that is the more involved way to do it. This is kind of a more simpler understanding at the surface, like which pieces of content are really driving traffic.
Yeah, I love two things that you brought up that I love. One of them is the URL shorteners for figuring that out. Owly is a perfect example, and we've even used that internally at GoDaddy to do what you were just talking about, the A/B split tests. By the way, everybody listening, we just got an awesome education in A/B split testing, like where you have 2 different ways that you want to communicate something. You send them out both different ways. You use a slightly different use a different URL or URL shortener, and we're able to place that thing everywhere, even on posters or on bumper stickers and things like that. And so when we do it and somebody hits it, it used to be, I think the days of tracking the sources was really hard. You'd have to ask people, like, where'd you hear about this? Oh, I heard about it on a bumper sticker, or I heard about it in a meeting, or I heard about it someplace else. Now, based on just the URL that they came in through or the web address that they used, you can say, wow, that bumper sticker is doing really well for us, right? Or that poster is doing really well for us, just by that coming in and looking at it. And then Google Analytics, you're right. Like it's so robust. It can be a little like overwhelming to get it all hooked up in the very beginning, but totally worth it, because you can track. Like in Google Analytics, they have what are called like a micro conversion and macro conversion, where you can say, so you could say, did I get any conversions? Maybe they didn't have money to them, but the visitors did what I wanted them to do. So I was able to see, like, okay, they're headed the right direction, and then ultimately have the macro. So then it gets really interesting, because you get to test whether the whole campaign or the whole social media strategy or my email marketing strategy, or even my print strategy, whether or not it's working and it's getting the people I want to my website. So yeah, I think those are great. There's one other one I don't know if you've seen, and I don't remember the name of them, Don. And I should have looked this up beforehand, but I've seen websites where I can go in there and I can put in a URL for like a tweet, like an existing tweet, and it will pull up the stats on that tweet automatically. So even if it's not me or not my Twitter account. Did you say one? The name of it?
I think tweet reach is one that you can
tweet
measure.
reach, right. Yeah. So an interesting way to see, maybe not whether or not it ended up in a conversion.
Yeah.
But you can see whether or not the content was easily shared or shareable content. Like a great example of that is even during Super Bowl. Colby and I were working GoDaddy social media during Super Bowl, and what was the tweet that got shared like a ton? And I don't think it's going to necessarily drive conversion, but we got retweeted. Was it Peter Griffith on a lion or something?
Yeah, it was realizing Katy Perry stole this from Family Guy, and it was Peter Griffin riding the lion.
Yeah, Right. So, but it told us basically like, well, okay, we got an idea of maybe this type of content or this humorous content that might work or resonate for getting followers or getting recognition, but may not convert, right? In the end.
So we
But
do have a couple questions kind of on this topic that you guys are going down.
yeah.
You start detailing somewhere else. So Tasha actually has two, and then Robert has one. So she would like to know. We recommend doing A/B split tests when it comes to doing social media testing through scheduled messages. That way, she could see a better ROI. Is that what you guys are kind of getting at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then
That was easy.
what are your thoughts about social sharing on websites and email marketing?
I don't know if I understand the question completely. I have thoughts on email marketing. I think email marketing is really powerful. I think email marketing, if your conversion, so we talk about conversion and getting people what they want, getting people to do what you want them to do, a perfectly good, in my mind, result or goal is to just collect email addresses from social.
Yeah.
You don't get those easily like from the networks, but there are Twitter cards that you can use that essentially allow people to sign up for stuff directly in direct response to a tweet. There are other ways to just drive people to a landing page, whether it's a blog or a website that is somehow is a gated piece of content that you can collect content from. I think that email marketing is still very, very effective. I don't see that as changing anytime soon, and I think that sort of that should be a goal of social media in some ways. So you could see social media as sort of upstream, and then really downstream is email marketing, and then eventually purchase. And maybe some people go into email marketing, some people go to purchase, but it's absolutely an important strategy, I think, in social media marketing is to collect email addresses.
Yeah, I totally agree. We use that even on our own blog as a conversion method, and I guess in marketing circles, this is what they refer to as kind of top of funnel, where you what you're trying to do when creating a customer or creating somebody that joins your organization or signs up for nonprofit or something, but that's your macro conversion, whatever it is. What you're trying to do is convert somebody. So you start with somebody that's a stranger. They have no idea you even exist. They become a visitor, so they come to your site. You can measure that, a new visitor, and then they become a return visitor, and then they become somebody that is like a subscriber or somebody that's interested but not ready to buy. And so social media at the very, very top of that, I think that's where social media plays a really great role. I mean, it also plays a great role further into the funnel, so to speak. But at the top, it's making sure that people know who you are, what your brand is, and drives them that direction. And then I love that you use the example of the sign up, the landing page, the sign up form, where you could offer something like a call to action. Like really popular right now are guides or templates or checklists or just cool content for somebody where they would go to your site. You would say, hey, listen, I'm again, we'll go back to the mechanic idea, right? I'm a mechanic. I want to give you this free guide on these are the 5 things that you need to do in between oil changes, and it will make your car last 100 times longer. And so you might have somebody that just downloads that, but to download it, they give the car mechanic their email. So now you have somebody that's a subscriber, right? And he can then say, listen, I'm only going to send you cool stuff, and if I don't, you can cancel. But now he's built a relationship, even though they may have never had their oil changed by the mechanic yet. So email marketing, huge. Colby, if she's talking about the social sharing, if it's like the buttons, I guess, or the
I think she is. Yeah, I think that's the question.
yeah, like the buttons that go on the websites. I don't know, Don, what do you think, on the buttons on websites for social sharing?
I think they're sort of like an easy thing to put on your website and to include. We have HootSuite has a social share option as well that we work on, and we have different buttons. I think it's an easy thing to sort of put on your website, and it doesn't hurt. I don't know if that necessarily drives a tremendous amount of results. The one I think where it's most interesting is for content. I don't see people being like, oh, I'm looking at this pair of shoes, and sharing out, being like, oh, should I buy this pair of shoes? Or I just bought this pair of shoes. That's awesome. I never see that on my feeds, and I just assume it doesn't happen. Assuming my friends are fairly normal, which is probably not a good assumption. But I don't see that sort of behavior very common. But in terms of content, I think it is very helpful. So if you're blogging a lot and if you're using that, again, to drive inbound behavior to maybe get email addresses, then I would absolutely include the share, and then maybe your customers will share that. If you write something really compelling, it could get picked up by a lot of different people. So that's where I think it helps.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts kind of mirror yours. I'm like, I wonder, even on blogs, where there was like this share button overkill, where you kind of expand it and you would see just like 70 different buttons to share this in different networks
Yeah.
and on Storyvine and everything. And I just wonder whether or not, because I've never done it. Like if I see something really compelling, I like to like craft my own message. I don't click on those. I open up the media on my own with what other tools I'm using. Like I'll open it up in HootSuite and do it from there, even without using like a bookmarklet or something like that. So I'm
Mm.
curious on that. I do see one one area where I have seen people actually click to share on a page has been on infographics.
Yeah.
So like really large
Visual
infographics,
content.
visual
Yeah.
content. Yeah,
Yeah.
Pinterest. And that's where we see that kind of get shared or on Facebook. And I don't know if it's because people worry they're going to screw up the picture somehow, or just keeping it canonical. Like I'm not sure, but I have seen that highly visual content.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And I think that, the other thing, the inverse of that or the opposite of that, or a different side of the coin, is that as a user, I would highly recommend everyone to look at the Hootlet tool in Hootsuite. Basically, it's just a Chrome add-in. And as you're going through sites, if there's something you like as a user, you can share it. So this isn't so much letting other people share your content, but as a consumer or as a business owner who's consuming the web and finding something interesting that you think your customers or prospects might want, there are tools like the Hootsuite, the Hootlet, which you can actually add to your browser, and then you can do auto scheduling through there. You can do short links through there. You can do a bunch of stuff. So that's another way to sort of think about that, the opposite of that problem in some
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And dude, I'm going to use the word Hootlet in a sentence sometime
Please.
this afternoon. Yeah, I'm
Every
excited
time
about
you
that.
do, I get $1. So I would recommend more the merrier.
Colby, any thoughts on anything that we missed? We got other questions on how do we know if it's working?
I do have thoughts, but we do still have a couple questions I want to get to
Oh,
before
right
time
on.
starts getting closer. So, Chuck wants to know short URLs. You guys talked about those and the advantage of split testing. Do those play nice with Google Analytics, or is there issues when it comes to short URLs in Google Analytics?
That's a good question that we could follow up on. I don't think there's an issue with that because we have Google Analytics and maybe Matt. Matt's my spy who's on the phone. He's not contributing much, but he's helping behind the scenes. Matt, if you have any insight on that, that'd be great. As far as I know, that we have integrations of Google Analytics right into our analytics themselves. So I don't believe there's any issues with working through them. I think the links will get resolved. I think what happens is they'll go one time, it'll hit the Owly API. This is getting technical. The link will unpack itself, and then you get the full link, which includes all the campaign codes, and then that hits your web page, and then that's when Google Analytics starts counting it. So I think there you're just counting the same thing. And there's also, through Hootsuite, you can get branded shortened URLs as well, where you can basically have like your company name, a shortened URL with your company name somehow in there,
Yep.
as well as just the Owly. But I don't believe there's an issue.
Yeah, I think we've talked through this a few times. As long as the website resolves at the source, and it's easy, it's quick, it goes down to the source, but you're not trying to hide or mask or override the canonical or like the original source, then I haven't seen any problems. Like there have been instances I've seen in the past where somebody what they call masking, right? Where they try to basically put another layer over the top of their website to kind of fool the Googles. And in this case, you're not fooling the Googles. You're just saying, oh, listen, this is where this goes. And there's forwarding now in a number of cases beyond URL shorteners, where somebody might just say, hey, instead of going to this homepage, I want you to go to this homepage. Google doesn't have problems with that as long as the redirect is the right kind of redirect, and that's been the case with URL shorteners.
Awesome. And still kind of going down the analytics area. So Robert asked this a little bit ago. With Hootsuite, we understand that analytics provided will tell us what content is being engaged through on various social platforms. We heard Hootsuite can be integrated with Google Analytics. He still needs a place to view all statistics, and he's most interested in having a single place to view this data. Is that in Google Analytics? Can you guys expand on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at Google Analytics inside your Hootsuite Analytics. So I would say if you're looking for a social media centric analytics platform, Hootsuite is kind of the place to be because you can get like the hardcore social stuff. And by the way, these analytics are going to get better and better with time. Product roadmap looks pretty great with all this. So I think it's taking that analytics in Google or in Hootsuite and then also using the Google integration that you can bring in that data in there, and then you have one place to look at it. Now, if you're really doing deep dive, hardcore website analysis, like the stuff Sean was recommending or suggesting, then I would say do it in Google Analytics. So it's just a question of sort of your business goals and the tools, how you're achieving them. If it's primarily through social, and that's where you want to measure, do it in Hootsuite. If it's primarily the website stuff, do it in Google, in GA.
Yeah, I would agree. Like if you're focused on social and kind of the top level stuff that you would do in Google Analytics, Hootsuite's the way to go because it just makes it a lot easier. Google Analytics, getting in there, creating it. I mean, you could in Google Analytics measure an A/B split test in social media, but it's not easy to set up. Google Analytics has something called experiments, which is basically putting together that split test. It's just not as easy. But if you're ready and willing, you want to spend the time, you really want to dive in. Google's got great tutorials. There's videos walking you through basically what types of things you could be measuring and how you could measure. There's a quick and dirty tab or section in Google Analytics where you can just see social breakdown. It's high level. It just says, hey, listen, this is the amount coming from Facebook. This is the amount coming from Twitter. This is the amount coming from wherever. But it may not get you as quick access into how your content is working in social media as Hootsuite does. So.
Awesome. So kind of switching gears here on a couple of questions. Instead of the analytics path, Tom wants to know, can we talk about a little bit about collaboration and partnership, how it takes place in building an online business, and what can he offer someone to help with his social media without having to give equity or go out of pocket? It seems kind of taboo to offer that kind of stuff for it.
I'm not sure I caught that question.
So, like, how would he recruit someone to help him with his social media efforts without giving up part of his business?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a great question actually. So, there are lots of places you can go. You can go to places like Odesk or Elance. I have friends who are like individual solopreneurs or whatever the word is, entrepreneurs, and they go out to the Elance and Odesks of the world. Those are skills marketplaces. And they find people who are social media experts. You can also go, if you go to Hootsuite, there's a certification program, and you can look up people who've been certified in your area if you want someone local. I encourage you to check those people out, and they can help you as well. And really, there's a ton of agencies out there that can help. You don't have to necessarily keep it in-house, but yes, like having a clear communication plan with these people is important, especially if a lot of the Odesk and Elance people are overseas. So sort of like how you can measure, like balance cost with sort of accessibility and location. But yeah, there's definitely resources out there to help you find someone.
One of the things that we've talked about when building, even just getting a website built, but it goes the same for finding somebody to help you with social media or with content, is trying to find somebody that cares enough about your business, like close to the same amount. It's kind of like hiring a babysitter for your kids. Like you want somebody that cares enough, and it's not just a turn and burn type of thing where they'll be considerate. I like, and Colby, this may not have been the area that he was headed with the question, but I like this idea of the collaboration or working with other business owners when it comes to social media or those types of skills, especially if you're like in a small town. Like I'm freezing right now. I'm in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I like the idea that maybe having a couple of businesses here where you've got one business that maybe it's a law firm, and they happen to be really good at the social media side, but then they have another business they work with. Maybe it does manufacturing or somebody that does other services where you have a swap. You can work together on how to make these things work. There's a lot of businesses locally that are even coming together and supporting one another. I know a great I don't know if you can call it social media. It's kind of like that where they're taking the social media, uh, the online social media and taking it offline. But a great community called Alignable out of Boston. It's doing something similar where you have a group of small businesses, especially in like a small downtown area in a unique location where they're helping each other out, and they're doing classes, and they're talking to each other, and they're going over how to make this stuff work. In addition to, hey, if somebody runs into the store, shoplifts something and runs out, they like ping each other all at the same time and say, all right, there's this guy on the loose, running down the street. Can somebody stop him? It's cool how you see some of those communities come together to help each other out. Um, and then when it comes to content and sharing content, hey, listen, we're doing it right now. Actually, I mean, Hootsuite and GoDaddy collaborating and working together to get the message out and do content. And we do it because we also believe it's just great for business for both of us to be able to do it. Sharing content and working with other people on their content is really, really great for a number of reasons. But one of them is like the two different markets that we serve, or the two different audiences that we have. So if I'm writing a blog that only has to do like a blog about movies, and I team up with somebody else that also writes a blog about movies, we get access to both of our audiences, and we're able to collaborate. And then, even from an SEO perspective, giant robot in the sky looking down, right, is looking for activity like that. Like where is there sort of like a cluster or a discussion around something, and who are the players that are involved, and that must be important, therefore we're going to rank this higher. And so collaboration when it comes to content is really, really powerful as well, between small businesses, between solopreneurs, between freelancers. So there's some other options.
Yeah, there's good events too. Like I know Phoenix has a Startup Phoenix event where a lot of small businesses are getting together and using that joint hashtag to kind of drive business and get more people into that area.
Oh, totally. I mean, another great one is working out of some of the co-working spaces that are popping up all over the country. We've got a couple in Phoenix. I know of some in Seattle, a bunch in New York. Like those are great facilities to work out of. Even for the day, you get free Wi-Fi, and you get to meet and network with a lot of really great people. Another great place to find talent.
So I know we're pretty much at time here, but there's a couple minor ones I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on. One is, could you guys just repeat or recover real quick how to get your company name in the URL shortener again? I believe you guys briefly touched on that.
Yeah, I think that's the vanity URL. So if you go to Hootsuite, just search under Hootsuite and vanity URL. That'll basically bring that up. But basically, you'll get your company name. You have to actually register it through GoDaddy, so you'll have to go through, or whomever. We prefer GoDaddy, of course. But you'll have to go through and register that domain name, which should be pretty cheap. And then you tie that to your link shortener in Hootsuite. So there is a link that describes that process. And if you just Google Hootsuite vanity URLs, the first three links will be useful. I'm just Googling it now in terms of describing the process of doing that.
Yeah, and when you get your domain, good news on that is most of the link shorteners, and you guys have seen them if you look at, like, New York Times has one, YouTube has one.
They're all gibberish.
They're all gibberish, right? Like it's this. You can usually find it even if you're looking for like a four-letter domain name, like a .co. I think I just got my last name is Funder. I just got pfun.co, just so that I had something that I could work with as a link shortener going through a service like Hootsuite, so that I could have that custom link shortener. I've got a buddy who's. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say the link shortener not only gives your brand, but obviously it also shortens the link, right? So
right. Yeah.
It helps your counts there. So.
And then this one is basically on our website builder. Someone just wants to know, Sean, and I think we could take this offline, but is it possible to create login pages on that currently for like special events and stuff, or is the password protection still there for pages?
Nope, it's not right now. So I do know that it's on roadmap and that it's on its way,
Okay.
that it's coming, but it's not available right now for the password pages.
And then Emily just like to know, and I have a lot of thoughts on this personally. I think any business can utilize social media. You just kind of have to find how you think it would best, best be used for your brand. But she wants to know, what are you guys' thoughts on apartment communities using social media, as engagement or for engagement?
Oh, interesting.
Apartment communities, meaning like just people living in the same building.
Yeah, I would assume like people living in the same building or the actual complex itself probably having a social presence.
I think Facebook groups, different groups are a great way to communicate with one another. It's not sort of the public social experience, but it's basically offloading that communication to the groups functionality of a different network. So I think that could be totally doable. Yeah, I think the only thing there is like you probably want to do something that's fairly private or a little more private than the average open social network.
Yeah.
Maybe a LinkedIn group if all of you happen to be in the same industry as well. That would be interesting. But yeah, there should be a way to do that for sure.
Yeah, I would say go Facebook groups. You see that now with church groups. You see that now with nonprofits a lot. You see that with I think my kid's school. I should probably be in there more often. But yeah, it's a private group where they can discuss what's going on and maybe what they can do or find volunteers or whether daily pickup is changing or something's going different. I think that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, I think something cool would be like event pages as well if they want to host like a barbecue or some sort of event to gather more people to check out the complex or existing people.
Yeah,
so
totally.
There. Other than that, everybody's pretty much just saying thankful. This has been really good stuff, really helpful. I know we didn't get through the entire slide deck. Is there anything else you guys wanted to cover before we got off here?
Just huge thanks, man. Don, you're awesome. We love working with you guys, and we're really grateful we got to do this for everybody. We think that it's powerful, and we're really excited to see people grow and take advantage of it.
Yeah, thanks again for everybody, and I think I have to do one more shameless plug for HootSuite, and check it out. I made a sign. We just launched a new website.
Oh, so awesome.
I even made a sign for it. I'm on brand and everything. So if you go to hootsuite.com/smallbusiness, you can learn more about how Hootsuite Pro can help small businesses succeed in social media and how to help you grow your business.
Well, and I'll do one more shameless plug then.
You always got to one-up me.
I do. Well, this is for you.
Thanks.
No, Don was gracious, and he wrote an article for us in the GoDaddy Garage, which is our blog that talks a lot about this same stuff. Starting running a small business, doing social media, SEO. It's garage.godaddy.com, and if you go there and you search for Don, you'll see his beautiful mug on there and a great article on social media. So
thanks, Sean. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Colby, thank you again for everything.
Thanks, Colby.
No problem. And I put that link for everybody, the Hootsuite one, in the comments, so you guys can click on that and check it out. Also, the downloadable ebook is in the event details on the right-hand side for anybody that wants to check out the PDF of that for this Hangout. So cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you on our next Hangout. We've got one coming up for GoDaddy within the next week or so on advanced website builder topics. So if you've seen our previous two sessions and you want to learn more about website builder, feel free to tune in and ask questions to our developers and experts there on that. And look forward to having you again.
Right on.